Welcome back to the YouTube channel. On today's episode, we'll talk about a potential huge three-team trade brewing between the Warriors, Pistons, and Kings, who the Pistons get back, and how this will all play out. We'll also touch on some Summer League details, but let's get to it. So, as we mentioned off the top, we got some news earlier today, which we covered on a live stream over here at Pistons Jack with my guy Kyle Metz, that the Pistons, according to Amari Sankofa II of the Detroit Free Press, that the Pistons are in fact engaging in a sign and trade with the Kings for Dennis Schröder. We spoke about this earlier, but it was reported that the Pistons can take back in this sign and trade a player worth $22.6 million or less in annual salary. Or if they elect not to bring back a player, the Pistons will head into the upcoming season with a $14.3 million trade exception. Now, we spoke about this earlier. We mentioned some potential names and what this could look like. Later this afternoon, we got word, a report came from NBC Sports Bay area out of San Francisco. I'm just checking the source's name here to give appropriate credit. Tristy Rodriguez reported that the Kings, Warriors, and Pistons are discussing a three-team sign and trade deal involving Jonathan Kuminga and Malik Monk, amongst other players. Now, this trade, there's multiple reports came out following this. This trade, essentially, the deal would look like this. The Pistons would end up with Malik Monk. The Kings would receive Kuminga and Dennis Schröder in the sign and trade, and the Warriors would land Devon Carter, a first-round pick from last year's draft, and Dario Saric, I guess for some center depth. Now, as this relates for our Pistons, the Malik Monk discussions we thought had died even earlier on the live stream following the Schröder announcement from Amari. We thought the Malik Monk deal was dead. The Monk conversation started probably 2 days ago before the Pistons made the Duncan Robinson signing. The reports in and around that time were that the Pistons, before Duncan Robinson, the reports were that the Pistons and Kings had essentially agreed on a sign and trade straight up for Dennis Schröder for Malik Monk, but then the Pistons got cold feet last minute and that undid the deal. Trajan then elected to go after Duncan Robinson, and we saw him pull off that sign and trade yesterday, which we covered, sending out Fontecchio to sign Duncan Robinson. After that move, I think a lot of the NBA thought, all right, the Pistons are not looking at Malik Monk. They've got kind of some guard depth with LeVert and Robinson now and shooting. Maybe they're now pivoting to adding some forward targets. But it looks like the Pistons are back in on Malik Monk, and it feels like a deal. I don't want to say inevitable, but it sounds like the Pistons are very serious about getting Malik Monk once again. I'll talk about in a moment how this looks for the Pistons roster and how post this potential trade the roster looks. But I think right now what's holding up this deal is the Kings and Warriors trying to work out their part. I believe the Warriors, whilst they're interested in this trade, there's still a lot for them to work out in terms of, are they getting enough back for Kuminga? Devon Carter, I believe, was definitely a lottery pick last year. He missed a lot of his rookie season due to a shoulder injury, but he's definitely a promising guard that has really good, high defensive potential, and that is the main piece for the Warriors. So I know this is a Pistons show, but just trying to explain all the ins and outs of this deal. As it relates, though, back to the Pistons. The Pistons, if they take back Malik Monk, I believe he has 3 years, $60 million remaining. So he's around $20 million per year. So that fits under that $22 million that they can bring back for Dennis Schröder. This would mean the Pistons are operating as an over-the-cap team, and they're going to be operating as one no matter what to pull off this sign and trade. But some names to think about if this falls through. If the Pistons, Warriors, and Kings three-team trade falls through and the Pistons now have to bring in another third team, or maybe the Pistons now just want to go straight up, try to get Malik Monk. But the thing is, the Kings, a big incentive in this three-team trade is them getting Jonathan Kuminga, who they are very, very interested in. So, but if this trade falls through, some names to think about in the forward positions that would fit into this $22 million for the Pistons are Kyle Kuzma, Dylan Brooks, Harrison Barnes, Rui Hachimura, Patrick Williams from the Bulls, Calvin Johnson from the Spurs, Jonathan Isaac. Then these two names I love, PJ Washington, Obi Toppin from the Mavs and Pacers, Jared Vanderbilt, and Keegan Murray from the Kings. Now, those are just, none of those names have been reportedly linked to the Pistons. Frankly, I don't know if any of those names have been reported on the trade block, but they are just some positions. I know Pistons fans, a lot of people are wondering who's going to play that backup four, who's playing the four long term. So those are some names to consider if this Malik Monk deal falls through. But it does feel like now with the Pistons, a reignited interest that Malik Monk, I'm not going to say he's going to be a Piston, but it feels like there's an effort there now to get a deal done. How does this look for the current roster? And let me know your thoughts on this, because I know a lot of Pistons fans want that backup four position filled. So I know some of those names I mentioned will be attractive to some of you, but let me know your thoughts on those names and the Monk trade. But let's talk about quickly how Malik Monk fits with the Pistons. So this is roughly the depth chart the Pistons would have if the trade goes down where the Pistons receive Monk and send out Dennis Schröder. They would have, this is just purely a depth chart. This is not the rotation, but the Pistons would have Cade Cunningham, Marcus Sasser in the point guard position. They would have Jaden Ivey, Malik Monk, and Karis LeVert in their shooting guard position. They would have Asar Thompson, Duncan Robinson, Ron Holland at the small forward. At power forward, they have Tobias and Bobby Klintman. And then at the center, they have Duran, Stu, and Paul Reed. To me, the Pistons are still sorely lacking in the forward position, in the backup forward position. I believe in Bobby Klintman, but I also believe he might not be ready to be a backup four on a playoff team next season. Now, a lot of people will say, well, Asar and Ron Holland can fill some of those backup 4 minutes when Tobias is off the floor. That does make sense. I think for me, I really don't want Asar playing at the four. I love what he brings defensively on the wings or at the point of attack. And I feel like if you're playing him at the four, he could get reduced to being down in the corner. I know you can do some switching to help keep him up on the perimeter, but I think lineups get a bit tricky with him at the four. But if that's what has to be, that has to be. He's still an excellent defender and can make things happen there. Ron Holland, backup four. I think Ron can get there if he can add on some muscle. I'm just not sure if Ron as a backup, playing backup 4 minutes, if he's added enough muscle. But we'll see. We'll see. We've got a full off season to go. He could bulk up. I have no doubt Ron will be able to play those minutes in a couple of seasons when he's had, more NBA off seasons and time to add weight and strength. But those are kind of solutions right now. I think the guard rotation is kind of electric. You've got Cade, you've got Ivy starting. Those two are starting for me. Then you have Monk and LeVert and Duncan Robinson all mixing and matching in the 2 and 3 position. Plenty of shooting. LeVert and Monk can create their own shot, get to the mid-range, get to a floater. Duncan Robinson, elite movement shooter. So you got a lot of diverse scoring, and I feel like whilst Monk isn't the tallest, he's like 6'3", 6'4", he's very athletic. I think you've got some really good size and athleticism between Monk, LeVert, and Robinson, bringing them in. So I would say if Trajan can pull this off, it's very exciting. There's a lot of shot creation there. We know Jaden Ivey just coming back is going to help that tremendously. But adding Monk, LeVert, they can both get their own shot. And then Duncan Robinson is elite at, moving and getting open and creating threes. And we spoke about his shooting numbers off the dribble on yesterday's episode. So it's exciting, Pistons fans. It's exciting. Fair bit to play out, but we'll see what happens. Final piece of news. Tim Hardaway Jr. is going to the Denver Nuggets. I forgot to report that on yesterday's show. Appreciate you, Tim Hardaway Jr. You gave us some great moments in the playoffs. Thought you were excellent during the regular season. We'll miss you. I low-key wanted THJ back once we found out about the Beasley stuff, but with what we've seen now, it makes sense. I'm happy. I'm excited to see him go play with Jokic and the Nuggets. I think they're going to do some great things. Finally, some Summer League news. So the Pistons, Brett Siegel over at Clutch Points today reported some of the names that you can expect at Summer League. You have Chaz Lanier, Pistons pick 37 in the most recent draft. Then we have some Motor City Cruise two-way players, Ron Harper Jr., Tolu Smith. Both of them are going to be suiting up. Then so far we have Dawson Garcia, Bryce Williams, Zakai Ziegler. They were undrafted rookies from the most recent draft. So excited to see what they can do. TJ Madlock from Alabama State also joining that undrafted crew. And Trajan also reported that the Pistons, that Bobby Klintman and Ron Holland will be playing at Summer League. I would guess Ron's probably going to only play a game or two, but we'll see. So the Pistons as well have 4 games starting July 11th against the Knicks. Funnily enough, they play July 13th, 15th, and 17th, and there will be a 5th game that is decided at the end of the 10-day tournament. So a lot of info there, Pistons fans. We're going to be back tomorrow, I can already tell, breaking down a potential trade, so stick with me. Appreciate all the love recently on the channel. If you could like, subscribe, drop a comment below. It helps this channel keep growing, and I appreciate you all so much. But as always, go Pistons.